So we are directly jumping to the next presentation, which is about AI applications in the context of personalized therapies. And the presentation is being held by Dr. Ralf Angermund. He's Therapeutic Area Director at Janssen-Cilag, Germany. Then we have Professor Dr. Thomas Neumuth from University of Leipzig, and he's CTO also from ICCAS. And finally, we have Laura Wamprecht. She's Managing Director for Flying Health. The stage is yours.
Thank you a lot for the invitation first, and of course also the moderation. So as you mentioned, I'm Laura. I'm from Flying Health. We run an ecosystem for next generation healthcare where we try to combine innovators such as from research and also from startups, but also to combine them with the corporate side to bring innovation to life. And I'm very happy to have the session here where we demonstrate a particular use case and a very particular project where it's about how we treat cancer in our society and in the future. And I have two guests which definitely represent both the medical parts. So this is Ralf Angermund. You are a trained oncologist, so you have also the experience from working directly with the patient, so you know all the medical details. Now you represent the oncologist part at Janssen, which is a pharmaceutical company. And on the other hand, we have Thomas Neumuth. So you are the professor, you are the techie guy here. You know everything about computer science, and you joined forces to create a common project which is about cancer treatment. And to give the audience a better idea of what we're talking about, I would like to directly hand over to you, Thomas, to illustrate what is the project about, what is the use case, and afterwards we go into a short discussions and think about where can we be in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura. I start sharing my screen of the presentation. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for us to present this project here. We call it the Kite Project or the Kite Platform. You see, it's an acronym for Knowledge-Driven and AI-Based Platform for Therapy Decision Support in Hematology. It's a joint project with Janssen-Cilag, one of the big pharma vendors, and we are happy to show you a new way how we envision the future of hematology might look like. And so, yeah, and I'm starting with the introduction of the platform and of the technology. So when you work at the intersection of data-driven methods in medicine, it becomes clear that it's nearly impossible to search for a one-size-fits-all approach. So of utilizing, for example, AI in the clinical context, because most of the clinical fields are very specialized and individual. And then, of course, you have a lot of varying patients and patient-specific parameters, so to say. The application field of our approach is the field of hematology, and in particular hemato-oncology, that mostly deals with pathologies of the blood in the bone marrow. And so the input data we use come mostly from laboratory findings, even down to the molecular level. So we deal from the technical point of view mainly with structured numerical data. Those interpretation of those data require usually a lot of clinical knowledge and experience. And to address this, that's a lot of clinical knowledge and experience, we designed this platform. Of course, all this highly specialized testing of the data coming from the labs requires a lot of expertise but also the right facilities. So a major university hospital might do all of this in-house, but an oncologist in a rural area might have no timely access to all of these resources. Additionally, there might be as well a lot of difference when it comes to the consideration of the latest knowledge about the field, of the latest research to take into account for the therapeutic decisions. So imagine that large hospitals are often very active in clinical trials and research themselves. However, for a rural physician, this might not be the case. situation introduces an imbalance, in a potential imbalance in the treatment quality of the regarding the state of the art for the patients. And the imbalance is caused, as mentioned, by available resources, by the knowledge, and by the information access. And here our platform targets this problem. So with Kite, we aim to overcome this imbalance by applying a holistic knowledge base about specific hematologic diseases, and apply AI algorithms on top of those models to bring the power of data-driven medical evaluation to every user, to every clinical user in the same way, and to establish the same level of knowledge for all. What we want to achieve is to calculate, to propose an optimal treatment decision based on the individual patient profile. So what means optimal treatment proposal? This has different perspectives. One perspective is, of course, a very effective treatment. Another perspective might be treatment without severe side effects, for instance. So it's also an important topic for the patient. There are different perspectives on this, and we try to accommodate this. The Kite system uses different knowledge sources to calculate, to support the calculation of the patient individual state. You see here we have three general, let's say, sources of information that represent medical knowledge. So the first one is clinical guidelines. So these are consent-based documents, so to say, that states the current state of the art of the treatment of a patient. We have large databases for retrospective medical case data about previous treatments, and of course we have published evidence from clinical trials and from different medical publications. On the technical level, we implement a proprietary ensemble approach, which we developed with the goal of being explainable. And this is one of the major messages also of this talk. All we do for the clinician needs to be explainable and needs to be backtraceable, and to follow, to make sure that it's the right decision. At its core, we use causal knowledge models that enable us to formalize the medical information and identify individual decision points. Along the way, a therapy decision is made, and for instance, for calculating medical scores or for interpretation of therapy-related outcomes. And currently, we have a number of leukemia-related diseases, each featuring several hundred individual information about one patient and several thousand relations between this relation that would a clinician need to consider during decision-making. And here we have our, we settle our approach to enable the clinician to make a patient individual decision, but on the other hand, to take into account the general worldwide recent knowledge about the treatment for the patient. So this is the objective of the Kite system. The system itself is based on different decision steps that all, let's say, are like a chain. We call it a decision trail, and we pass on information from one step to the other. So we do this to minimize the error propagation, so that not, let's say, influence one error of an early stage the final decision, and also, of course, to make it traceable from the backside. So with the system, we contribute to the goal of providing equal information supply to every medical decision maker. So no matter which resources are available or where they are located. And we pay special consideration that we do not brute force AI applications into the current clinical process, but it's rather intended to work as a kind of assistance. So it supports the clinician. It doesn't replace the physician. the clinician in its work, and that's the way it should work. For experts, the main function will be complemented by further active collaboration functions, such as the possibility to organize virtual tumor boards. So tumor boards is one part of the medical decision-making process, if you so that you involve multiple clinicians into a decision to make sure that this is the right decision and that it has approval from other people. And this is also a relevant topic to share this information using the Kite systems. And finally, for the patients, to be sure that that the case is evaluated and that he really gets the best available therapy decision, the best available knowledge is included into his decision. This is the final point, and this is how we envision the system to work. So imagine, as a final sentence, the power of, let's say, 1,000 doctors into one system, available everywhere in the world at every time. And that's how the system should work right.
Thank you a lot for introducing the project. I think I really like the last sentence to demonstrate where are you going. And this is what I would like to take to Ralf. So you are the pharmaceutical company who joined the project. So what was your main motivation and how was the collaboration between the two of you?
Yeah, first to start with, for example, it's one of the main goals as a pharmaceutical company. We at Janssen, we want to make sure that the right patients get the right therapy or the best therapy. That is a kind of personalized approach. Let's give it an example. It's because it's easier said than done. For example, one of the diseases we are dealing with is a disease called multiple myeloma. Picture yourself 20 years ago, we had five drugs maximum to treat. That was pretty easy to treat. Unfortunately, the prognosis was very poor and the overall survival was about 3 years and roughly no patient lived longer than 5 years. Now, 20 years later, we do have about 20 different products on the market. We do have a median over survival of at least 9 to 10 years. We do have patients being cured. In the past, 20 years ago, 0%. Now we are coming close to 8 to 10%. That is a huge difference. And we want to make sure that every patient who has the option to get cured and not lost somewhere in the system. That means nobody knows what is the best treatment. We have basically medical decision making is based on two parts. The one is the evidence known and the other one is experience. And the evidence is so huge and so complex that only the top experts know this. In order to bring it down to everybody, as Thomas said, to every physician out in the field who is not a top experts, we need to make it usable for them, and that is the goal of the project. So for us, that was when the idea came through from the University of Leipzig. It was a nice fit to our approach.
And what was maybe your key learnings? What came to my mind was also the question about how you create trust. So both for the physician and of course also for the patient.
Yeah, we had some examples in the United States, for example, where there was some AI which did not get acceptance by the doctors, and the question is, why did it not? Wasn't it accepted? And the answer was it was a kind of black box. Yeah, so you put all the data in the system, and the system comes with an answer. And as a doctor, you need to be responsible for the therapy, and you need to understand why this therapy is the best therapy for the patient. And that is what Thomas said: the explainable artificial intelligence, the explainable. So that is the nice thing, what we've learned, that it can be done. It is not that complex that it cannot be visualized to the treating doctors how the decision or the recommendation, or it's not a decision, it's a recommendation from the system is made. And that is so nice and so beautiful. And this is something which we believe this will gain trust in the environment.
As you just mentioned, the United States, what we often learn is that some project might be easier in the US because of maybe data regulation or the availability of a lot of data. Now we are here in Germany, but you still did it. You started this project. So maybe you can give also some idea why is Germany maybe also a good place for starting this kind of project, and where do we have room for, let's give it improvement. So where can we do better?
Yeah, so first of all, the environment is brilliant. Yeah, the close cooperation between the clinicians in the Leipzig University and the ICCAS, for example, that is something you rarely find. It's really difficult to find in the United States, because the United States decision-making process was made by IT companies. Yeah, and now this process is done by a corporation, Thomas. You can speak better to it, because that's a close cooperation between clinicians and the IT experts. That is good. What we need, and what we need better, just to give you a short answer on this, the system needs to learn on real world evidence, how to get there. To get there is, we do have normally the patient records. Do the patients behave as expected? We don't know yet. We need to get these informations. And that is the learning system. For this, we need to create some electronic health records which can be utilized. And that's a data protection discussion. That's a way how to anonymize data, and all these kind of stuff needs to be addressed. But I think the environment is good in Germany to bring it forward. But these topics needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So, and we also have an upcoming election in autumn. So maybe to wrap up also our session, and I would like to start with Thomas. If you would have a wish, also as a scientist and when you have universal background, what do you think should the next Minister of Health should set on the agenda to keep also AI in healthcare move forward?
I would start from looking backwards. So let's imagine so we're currently in a transition stage from a kind of old world, analog information, paper-based systems to the fully digital world. And if I imagine to be 20 years in the future and look back, then I would ask why it took so long. So what was the problem? And we need to maybe to think from the back side, and to think about how to accelerate this project, because all data we are currently not transferring into the digital world will be lost. So no one will analyze the paper-based records.
Then the last sentence also with the same question from you, Ralf, also as a physician and then also from a pharmaceutical point of view.
Yeah, I think we have to state that we have one of the best health systems in the world here in Germany. And we need to make the information we have in the system available for generating further evidence. If we could make this possible, that would be great. And that is unique probably in the world. And it's on the same level in the United States. That's the electronic health record. That's the data, find a way to get the data protection. And that's in line with what Thomas already said. Yeah, bringing the data we have at hand to use for everybody.
Thank you a lot for having this session here. I hope that we were able to demonstrate to the audience a quick use case on how we could improve healthcare with using AI. Thank you a lot for your participation.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot for those very interesting insights, and feel free to connect. We have a few questions in the chat. Feel free to connect to the presentators of this slot regarding this very interesting presentation of individual-based medicine based on AI.